Hi, I'm Kevin Hill, and today we're going to do a beautiful acrylic mountain scene. It should be fun, and of course if you're enjoying these and you want to see more, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more painting videos. Alright, let's get started. We'll start off today here with a little bit of our Prussian Blue Deep and our white. And oh, let's grab a little of our foundation medium. I'll help it to slide along. As you can see, I've already tinted the canvas kind of sloppy with some orange, and I made that with our yellow ochre. Ooh, that isn't even a brush here. This looks like just a piece of dirt or lint or something that worked its way up in there. Oh boy. There. Anyway, I tinted the canvas. Of course, we like to do that with acrylics so that we can kind of allow it to show through just a little. Not much. I'm just going to work the sky very quickly back there, and I'm just thinning the paint a little with that foundation medium. That's nice. Use broad overlapping strokes. You get a better blend that way. See that? You don't want to just come across straight. That'll make it look like water. Make sure you're blending your strokes together very, very nicely. Yeah, there we go. Light feather strokes. While the background is still wet, let's drop in a mountain. The reason while the background is still wet is because if you wipe off your brush, and I'm using the little number 6 flat, this is wet, and we can just cut right through. I should say the sky is still wet. You cut right through and you get down to this layer that we did ahead of time. See that? And then you can kind of get these little brush strokes of orange showing through, which I think is so pretty. Oh, wow, the sky's already dried down there. That was fast. Well, acrylics dry fast. That's just part of the deal, isn't it? So get this done as quick as you can. Focus mostly on the top where people are going to see it. All right, I think that's probably good for mountain 1 there. I like that. Maybe just a little top. Of course, you can always adjust the peaks later once it's all dry and you're not racing against the background. Yeah, there we go. Anyway, yeah, that's what I should do. I should follow my own advice. There. All right, that looks good. It's subtle, but these subtle things are kind of nice, aren't they? I kind of do something like that maybe, and maybe just yep, right there. Now we're going to do clouds, but I just wanted to get this in first so that we could do this kind of scrubby action and take advantage of that original underpainting a bit. Leave it a little texturized, I think. You can always make it smoother, but a little of that extra texture might not be a bad thing. There. Okay, cool. Maybe just a little bit of our medium and just kind of do a bit of a glaze down here with overlapping strokes or smudgy strokes, just to give us a base, something to work with. But I really like this orange. We're going to let that show through, I think, today throughout the painting. Be very pretty, I hope. We'll see. Now we're just adding in some shadow snow, and we'll do this pretty quick. You see, I don't want to overfill it, and especially down here. Up there, not so much. I kind of like overfilling it there. But over here, I don't want to overfill it too much. I want to allow the rock to kind of show through, especially as you come down in elevation, right? There, and then allow it. I put just a touch of green there, 2 seconds, and then I'm allowing. Well, and now I'm allowing this stuff to show through. Yeah, that looks about right. See that? Just kind of very rough, honestly. And I'm using a linen canvas, very smooth canvas, because I've used it a couple times. So I kind of filled in the holes of the canvas. I think we did a tip video on it and some random stuff. But anyway, it's kind of filled in. So it's almost, I would call it kind of a fine texture, which is cool, something different. And it gives us a very smooth, beautiful effect. Nice. Now I'm mixing up a nice light color here. You see I already got started just placing some of this down on the mountain. Wanted to make sure we like the color. There, very, very pretty. Just a little yellow ochre, touch of red, and some mud. I'm using my little micro filbert. It's the one really tiny filbert with a long handle. Very nice. Yeah, it looks good. Now we can also take some of these strokes, once we get the paint on the canvas, kind of stroke it down and create ridges on the mountain, which are really nice. See that? Use different pressures so that you have different size angles. Very important. There we go. Look at that. Okay, and then over here, we'll just do the same thing, maybe just less light on this one. Now we're transitioning out of the mountain, kind of coming down here to the snow, and trying to link it up here with the foreground. So I got a little white. This is just off-white, tinted with whatever that is, a little red, and yellow probably would be good. There. That looks nice. So you really just kind of work this in and around. Not a big deal. got my bristle brush going here. I think this is the number 4, yep. Number 4 bristle brush. When working with oils and acrylics all the time, you know, and of course this is acrylic, I sometimes get the stuff mixed up in my mind. There. Cool. Rinse out that brush maybe, and then come in and just feather this. Yeah, we can kind of use the flat of the brush. Very nice. Good. And now, just so that it's not totally flat, what you want to do is just come in here and add in these little bits where it goes up the mountain, and you know, maybe there's some light spilling through here, and we'll come back in and add more. This is just the soft coat. Let me show you how to do the more snow. The more snow. Yikes. Here we go. Take some of this white, and then you just make a harder snow patch here. See that? So you have some soft edges and some hard edges. Isn't that great? Right in through here. And you can really just show, just by tapping where it comes up the mountain. I like that. See, in my mind here, the light's kind of spilling through. These are individual mountains with a little bit of room separating them. Now, as you can see, I did a basic sketch of our foreground, but we're going to leave that alone for a second. I'm going to take my custom tapered round through a little bit of white, and I've already got some, but I'll mix in a little more of our foundation medium. Okay, let's go. I'm going to turn it upside down. This brush does not paint well straight in. This brush was designed to paint on the side. It's amazing. This is one of my favorites because it's just so unique and different, and the amount of, you know, blending techniques that you can do with this are just amazing. And it's not only for blending, but boy, it's blending. It's its favorite thing to do. There we go. So I triple checked that that was fully dry. If you have any concerns about it, don't do it. There you go. Because if you put this on here while it's wet and you scrub it around a lot, you'll cut right through the paint because the paint's wet and it is water-based after all. There. These are things you don't have to worry about with oils. But let's face it, it's not that big of a deal. Cool. So now what I can do is I can run this over the mountain if I choose, like that. Don't have to, but maybe we want to. There. So you just keep rolling it and rolling it and rolling it. You want to make sure you do only a small section at a time. That is so important. The reason is because your paint will dry on the canvas and the edges will become impossible to blend. Now I'm going to go ahead and drop in a lot of trees. Actually, that color's not quite right. So I'm using my little fan brush. As you can see, the soft fan works so much better than, say, like a synthetic fan for acrylics, in my opinion. Here's why. You can do stuff like tap in trees. You can never do that with a synthetic fan. I've tried. It doesn't work. The reason it doesn't work is because you get a sad face or a smiley face, depending on which way you're holding the brush. Now with this brush, because the bristles are so soft and they're natural, they just do the weirdest things, which is so valuable when you're trying to do the, you know, random effects that we try to get when we paint trees and stuff. Grass. It's actually what I designed it for was grass because I was so sad that, you know, I just grabbed a synthetic fan. Okay, this will work. It didn't work. I was so sad because I like my grass technique and it wasn't working. Then I found out that we could just use a softer bristle. Very soft. The softest bristle I could find. There we go. This is good stuff. Now right down in here. I'm just putting in the base coat. This is kind of just there to start us. Now I'm going to do a big tree up here, so maybe, but before I do that, actually maybe right in here, let's just start me on something like this. Just another little tree thing. Obviously you don't want just one stroke. You want several different strokes here. This is just getting us started, moving in the right direction in a quick way, because otherwise it might just take all day long just doing the trees if we were to do them all with a smaller brush. We'll get back in here with a small brush, just not this moment. There we go, that's looking good. A little more of the blue and white, maybe just there, just a little. Sprinkle in different colors as you go. Each time you reload, try to grab a slightly different color. That would be fun. Very nice. Actually, tell you what, right here, let's do just some stuff that we'll put branches on and a tree trunk on. There. Now we're going to begin turning this big sloppy mess into a forest. And it's really not as hard as it sounds. I know it looks bad, but sometimes when you paint, especially when you're doing a lot of trees and stuff, sometimes you just have to put it in rough and trust me. and then it will turn out, don't worry. There, see that? Just by adding a few trunks, I got a couple started just so you would see kind of where we're going. There, you can, ooh, there, I skipped a bit. I remembered I actually kind of want to do that because it looks good. It already helps bury, I was going to bury these tree trunks in anyways, but this sure helps. Gets us started. Now, you have to imagine kind of what's going on. We're on a slope, and that makes sense. I don't know if you guys have spent a lot of time in the forest or not, but especially up in mountains, everything's kind of on a slope usually. So that's what we got going today. Now, right up in here, we might actually just take these trees and feather them in just with a dark stroke like this. There. What that's going to do is, actually a little bit of our medium, what that's going to do is just, and this is still wet, I got to get these words out of my mouth, but this is going to do is create a little depth back here so that you kind of start seeing through the trees, but it gets a little fuzzy. And watch what happens. This will make more sense. Watch what happens when we take this tree and then pull it over what we just did. See, you start to go back into the forest, and then that one kind of doesn't go, and that one stops. See what I mean? Kind of creates a little bit of a forest there. Simple, not a lot. There. Just keep adding in tons and tons of trees. Well, you can't overdo it, but it's hard to overdo the trees here because we need them. I love this brush for this job too. Okay, I'm just going to continue doing this. Make sure you do a lot of overlapping trees. Nobody wants a forest. It's all laid out perfectly. We didn't plant this. This is supposed to look natural. Now I'm going to tap on some evergreen needles and, stuff like that. Some leaves, highlights. There. I'm using just a nice soft green, and I'm using the paint right out of the tube. No medium added. The reason is it's a nice heavy body paint. It works really well for stuff like this. When you tap it on, you don't want it to be runny. You want it to be as thick as possible so that it doesn't flow together and you get these little individual bloppy things. Bloppy things. There's your new art word. Seems like we've been doing a lot of weird new art words recently. All right, that looks good. I'm trying to keep it fairly dark and fairly quiet. Right over here, actually. Let's get a little fairly dark and fairly quiet. We could go brighter than this, and I'm kind of glad we're not going there yet. We may or may not punch it up. We'll see. Now, this could get repetitive, so I don't want you to do too much of this. A little more blue. Yeah, there we go. We'll come back in and maybe get some other more subtle ones going too. And obviously, we'll do some other brush strokes. You don't want all the brush strokes to be this stamping repetitive. You don't want to show how you paint. Does that make sense? You don't want somebody to say, "Oh, I know how you did that," and if you painted before, you kind of know what I mean. So kind of make sure that it's not obvious how you got here. And we'll do that by coming in with the microfilbert, or maybe even actually tell you what, we'll get out that angle filbert and we'll create some even more amazing textures. Fun. A little action on this one up here. Now I've got my little angle filbert, and it's actually kind of fun to use this. I haven't used it now. It's been a couple of paintings now, just because we've been doing, doing things that we didn't really need it for. But now we're back doing a lot of trees. Oh boy, does this brush come in handy. One of my favorite brushes for trees and foreground elements. That's really where this brush shines, where the brush shines. Foreground elements. There. Got just a nice vivid green color, but not too crazy. You see that? Actually, a little yellow ochre light in there would be really pretty. Yeah, let me show you the paint. See? This is another thing I like about these disposable palettes that I use for acrylic painting, is because the paint's always constantly drying on the palette. You don't have to really worry about it. I like that. There we go. Nice. Don't overdo this. I don't want to clog up the painting with highlights in this area. Just want to kind of keep it open still, where you can see a lot of layers in the background. Definitely don't want to cover up any more of the background. So I just put the minimal amount of extra leaves over it, because I like that background. It's vivid, it stands out, it's really pretty. There. Put a little blue, look at that, put a little blue into this color. Yeah. Actually, and I got a little foundation medium going here too. Very nice. Kind of use these little scumbling, overlapping strokes, each one touching another. You don't want this to look like tree leaves, so don't come up here and, you know, paint in a tree leaf so much. Do more scumbling strokes with the brush, so it looks more like needles. I'm going to quickly lay on some color here. Let me change now to brown. It's just a light. I think I put a little yellow ochre light and some white and a little touch of mud in there. Now I'm going with umber and mud and all sorts of random stuff here at the bottom. What I'm doing is creating layers of paint ready to go for blending together. So obviously this has been dry for a little while. There, okay, before any of that even comes close to setting up, let me rinse out my little bristle brush. You could do this with the fan, it would be just as great, but I'm going to try it with the bristle brush and I may change to the fan. But I just want to grab it and lift it up. There we go. And just touch it like this. I want a nice rough texture. The fan brush will give me a slightly larger look, which I'll probably use in the foreground, but I'm thinking kind of this mid-ground of the foreground. The mid-ground of the foreground. I think I'd like smaller strokes. So there you have it. A little water actually would be good. You could use your medium as well, or water for this, because I'm okay with this being really transparent. You'll lose a lot of this when it dries. There's a small piece of paper towel we can use to kind of absorb some of this if it goes too bright over here. There you go, just take some of that water out of the paint. Yeah, there we go. Good. Over here, you can always go back over this again if you want it to be a little brighter, but that just makes a nice fluffy grass meadowy thing. Yeah, there you go. Now over here we'll do some other things, dirt and I don't know, just other things. And come back with more color. See how I'm being very loose here? You cannot stress out over this. You gotta just be loose. A whole lot more fun that way. There. You see how I use the flat of the brush? It has this beautiful texture. Yeah, because it's a natural brush. You get just wonderful, wonderful texture. Just take a little white now, maybe. Oh, yeah. Wow, just build up that light so that it's so intense there. And anyway, I'm just going to play around with the grass like this. I won't be doing anything too crazy. And we'll come back and we'll do something else. Now let's go ahead and brighten up these trees. This is fun, really, because we start to kind of see the painting to come together. You see, I've already been working on this tree over here on the left, mostly to set the standard. And then we'll kind of match that brightness level everywhere else. That's kind of the thought. So maybe even, because I got extra color in here, so maybe even finish out a tree when you're doing this, and then you can kind of match the rest of the trees to that tree, and everything's good. All right. Maybe right, yeah, you know, a little bit of that medium would be good too. Pull them out. Kind of up to you what color you do. I'm trying to warm them up just a little without them appearing to be too crazy bright, but I just want to warm them up. You can take your finger and just give them a little smudgy. Don't know what else to say. There. I guess a smudgy pull, maybe. It's not a stroke, because I guess you're using your finger, right? Anyway, it's a good thing to do. If you kind of leave a little bit of broken texture, then you're good to go, and you don't really need to place these back into the painting too much. There. Oh, yeah, I like that one right there. You can always add more dark in should you cover up too much of your dark, but oh, you know what, right here, watch this. Bring that one in like that, and we can run a dark in there. I think that'll be really pretty. I'm just adding a bunch of this to create better detail. Planning to do this all along. It's just kind of fun to see it come together as we're getting close to the end. I haven't forgotten about that rock yet. Now I'm going to add a final bright highlight to the rock. And I just put a little paint on and then kind of mush it around while it's still wet and movable. Cool. That looks good. And maybe just to increase the round look of the rock, I'll swing that color right around. Not too far. And then finishing touches are really nice to blend with your fingers. you don't want to get your hand dirty with paint, I was going to say wet, but not really wet, then what you can do is just have a little bristle brush standing by, the number 4 bristle brush, because that will kind of, as long as it's clean and dampened slightly with water, it should do the same thing as your finger. There. I just had my finger ready and close by. Nice. Just a little highlight. I don't want these guys to stand out back here too much, so just a little highlight on them, mostly on those right there. Maybe just a little touch more to these rocks right here, these little rocks laying on the ground. That looks good. I like that. I think that's a lot of fun. Yeah, I'll tell you what, while we're going, let's real quick jump right over here and finish up this last tree, fallen tree. Nice and bright. We are going to be using some reds here, as you can see. Foreground colors, very good. Helps things look close. And maybe just a hollow spot. I know sometimes I've seen down trees like this, up in kind of the tree that's a bit hollow. Maybe we'll try to do that. We'll see how it goes. All right, well, I think we're done. I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too. Don't forget to check out our website, DVDs, and brush line. Thanks for watching.